Howdy, howdy, and welcome to the Outside In podcast. I'm your host, Brad Burgess, and today's episode is incredibly special. We're focusing on something that goes beyond business. It's about heart, community, and hope. We're joined today by Hal Blackman, CEO of IST Management, who has been the driving force behind our 14-year partnership with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. And we're honored to welcome two very special guests, Jennifer and Blake, our longtime Cystic Fibrosis Foundation ambassador family. They're part of the IST community for many years, and today they're helping us understand what it's like to live with cystic fibrosis, how far we come, and what still lies ahead. So Hal, let's get started with you. What first connected you to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, and why did you choose that cause as the anchor for IST's charitable efforts 14 years ago?
Thanks, Brad. Back in my early careers before IST, I spent a decade with the Marriott Company, and I was a catering manager. And there was a dinner honoring a doctor. And the darndest thing about that dinner, which I've never seen before, is there were tons of kids, and they were rolling in oxygen tanks back then because that's what they had to do. And I learned a lot about CF then, and it was just a tragic situation where some of these kids, I learned later, just didn't make it 6 months after that dinner. And I swore while I was only in my 20s, I wasn't in a position to do anything with CF on a big scale. I said, one day I really want to get involved in CF. And I love kids, and it just broke my heart to see these kids trucking in their oxygen tanks, really struggling to honor a doctor in Atlanta. So that's how we all got involved. And when we finally were in a position at IST where we were steady, I called the local CF folks and I said, I want to get involved. And I called my executive team. I'm like, I really want to get us behind this cause and see if we can help, even if it's just one child, right? To save one child and or elongate someone else's life, to have a chance of a normal life, whatever normal is in the world of CF, and try and have an impact. And that's when it all started. And that was 14 years ago now. So it's been a great partnership. And of course, I have Blake and Jen with us today. And when I called the CF office locally, I said, I need someone to help me do this, someone that has CF. Because so many times you do a fundraiser and it doesn't resonate with employees. So I want to put a face with a name. And Jen and Blake, I think you were, 6 years old at the time? Is that right, Jen?
I think so, 5 or 6.
And I met Blake, fell in love with him immediately. And I'm like, how do we feel about helping us bring awareness to IST and all of IST's customers? And they did such a fantastic job. And that was the beginning of a wonderful relationship. And now Blake's a grown-up young man doing incredibly well. And that's how we all get started, Brad.
Excellent. Well, and I love that we're going to put a face to cystic fibrosis. But before we jump into that, a lot of people just don't really know what CF is. So Jennifer, I'm hoping you can let the listener understand a little bit more about what CF is and how it affects the body on a day-to-day basis.
Sure. So cystic fibrosis is a hereditary disease. Blake's dad and I are both carriers unknowingly until Blake was born and diagnosed. It affects his lungs and digestive system every day. It could also affect his reproductive system. Now, a lot of CFers have healthy children as well. So, we're hoping that that's not an issue either. He's with his digestive system, he has to take pills every day with everything that he eats to help his body digest his food because his pancreas doesn't work. So it's a lot of pills every day. He used to do breathing therapies twice a day for 30 minutes a day. That was a good bit of his day, but thankfully with advanced medications, he hasn't had to do that in a few years. So all that has kind of normalized his life a good bit, which is really awesome. So it's basically a thick, sticky mucus that clogs the airways and makes it more difficult to breathe. Often CFers have described it as if you would put a belt around your chest and tighten it and just keep tightening it, and you just can't expand your lungs. You can't get that good deep breath.
Now, I know, Jennifer, back when I met a lot of these kids, almost 20 years ago, not only were they bringing in oxygen tanks, but they'd have these vests, these vibrating vests, because I assume that's to try and break up some of the mucus. And did Blake wear one of those vests?
Yes, sir, he did. Up until about 2 years ago.
2 to 3 years ago.
2 to 3 years ago, he wore a vest. So he got his first vest when he was 2. It was a tiny little thing, but the vest is a vibrating vest, and it makes your lungs think that you're coughing. So it helps loosen that mucus and get it up so that he can cough it up and spit it out. When Blake was 2, we told him, my dad rode motorcycles, and he would wear a black Harley vest. And so when he was 2 and he got his vest, we told him that it was his motorcycle vest.
Awesome.
Really cool to wear his motorcycle vest that made him shake like Granddaddy Jack would shake on his motorcycle. So that's how we talked him into wearing it all the time.
And I know, Blake, you must have felt pretty cool back then.
I did.
He got tired of it because it was every day, twice a day, 30 minutes a day. And back then he had an older style vest, and he was plugged into the wall. So that's hard for a little kid that wants to run around, but to be plugged into the wall for an hour every day. But thankfully, again, advanced medications, he doesn't have to do that anymore.
Now, Jen, with the advanced medications, I know one of the biggest challenges we have with CF kids is the scarring of the lungs, and at some point, some kids need a lung transplant. Can you talk to us about some of maybe Blake's friends or some parents that you know that have gone through that and what that's like?
Well, the one that touched us the most, I think, was Scott Rittenbaum, his daughter. So Scott got us involved, and I'm gonna get emotional. Sorry.
No.
God is the one that got us involved. He called us, and his daughter was alive at the time, but she had to have a double lung transplant in her 20s, and it was successful for a time, and then she lost her fight.
And I would, before she lost her fight, I think she got married, didn't she?
She did. She had a beautiful life. She had a beautiful life, a husband. They did lots of fun travels together. It was wonderful. And the lung transplant was successful for a time, and so everybody was real hopeful, and it was good stuff. And then it just didn't work out for her. Tragic story, but
Tragic. And she was how old when she passed?
she was in her mid-20s.
Yeah, way too young.
Way too young.
So, Blake, obviously you're the one living with cystic fibrosis. You've lived with it your whole life. But what's it like growing up with this chronic illness that other people can't see, but you know is affecting you?
Well, growing up, I always knew that I was a little different than everyone else. In pre-K, I used to have to get a snack every once in a while in the day, with my medicine in there, and nobody else got that, so that was kind of a perk to it. I got my little applesauce and my enzymes in there. But like I said, I always knew that I was a little different than everybody else, but I never, until I grew older, I never really realized how different I was, and that I can do what I put my mind to. But really, just knowing that I always have a lung disease and not everybody else has that, it was really trying to see for myself like what I could do. And everyone always goodness everyone always telling me like if I need to take a break or anything, then I can. And playing tennis has really shown me recently that I can do a lot and I can do what I put my mind to. And just really pushing myself to do more has shown me that as much as I am different from other people with my lungs, I can do what I put my mind to.
And you kind of touched on it there, but can you tell us what you wish people understood more about this disease and how it affects people and what it doesn't limit you to doing?
Sure. Well, growing up, it was just heavy on my heart that I always knew, like I said, that I was a little bit different. But I wish people would understand that just because I am a little bit different, like I said, I can do a lot. And going back to the tennis thing, I can play tennis just like everybody else. And it's just, goodness, this is hard.
Sorry.
It's hard talking like this. But as different as I am, it's always good to be included. That's kind of one thing that I'd like people to know is that just because I have to take my medication when I eat, it doesn't make me any different from like my friends who don't have to stop and take their medicine. And it's just a quick pop a few pills in my mouth and drink some water, and everything just is kind of normal to me. And I don't really need any like help with anything. Like I can do my medicine and my treatments and everything on my own. And really just I want people to understand that like I am different, but I've learned to do everything myself, and I thank people for their help, but sometimes, just kind of don't really need it.
Blake and Jen, I'm sorry. I know that a couple of years ago, we've been raising money, and a lot of companies and organizations have been raising money for a long time that has really helped tremendously the cause of CF. And I remember a couple of years ago, there was a little breakthrough. There was a certain medication, Jen, that you were really excited about that did a lot of wonderful things that for Blake. Can you kind of describe what that medicine is and what it has done for Blake?
I would love to. I call it the miracle drug. It is called Trikafta. So Blake started taking Trikafta in January of 2020, which was, I don't know, I just feel like a godsend at that time in 2020 where the whole world was just upside down for so many reasons. We get this new drug. And before that, every time we would go to the doctor, we go every 3 months up to Atlanta to his group of physicians. Before Trikafta, every time we went, I thought for sure this is when they're going to put him in the hospital. And when they put him in, he's had 2 hospital stays over his life. He was 5 for the first one and 10 for the second one. And they're each a minimum of two weeks. So when they put him in, it's definitely 2 weeks. So before Trikafta, I thought every time this is it. They're going to put him in the hospital. He's just so puny. He's so, I don't want to say unhealthy, but I just felt like he was on the edge.
I felt very fragile. I felt like every time we went to the clinic, they would send me to the hospital to get a tune-up, and it just felt very, like I said, fragile.
Fragile, that's the perfect word. I felt like he was so fragile. And so 2020 comes, he starts taking Trikafta. We didn't know at the time. The doctors are learning with us. We're learning with the doctors. They're learning with us. Like, it's really.
Because it's a brand new drug, right, Jen?
It was brand new, and it's really kind of cool that we're all learning this at the same time. A little bit scary, but very cool. And so I'm telling you, Trikafta turned us around. It was an absolute game changer. It has led him to not having to do the therapies twice a day and plugged into the wall, wearing that vibrating vest. It has taken him off of so many medications. He used to wear a nebulizer twice a day, breathing in 2 different medications to help clear his lungs. It's taking him off that. It's taking him off a lot of his pills. In comparison to the medication that he used to take, he's on a lot less now. And that is thanks to Trikafta.
Now, does that drug, Jen, help him have less of a chance of a need for a lung transplant?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Because that's the most dangerous thing for CF kids is, yes, it can be done. You're on a waiting list, but it's no silver bullet. I mean, things can go terribly wrong, as we know, with a lung transplant. So if we don't have to have one, that's, 2 thumbs up, right?
Absolutely. So our goal, and I have thought this from the very start, our goal is to keep Blake's lungs as healthy as possible for as long as possible until we can get to that cure.
That's the goal. That's the mission.
That is our goal. And Trikafta is helping us do that. And so recently, Trikafta is 2 pills in the morning and 1 pill at night. And he has to take it with fat-containing foods. And recently, and this is awesome for going off, he's about to go off to college. So, we need to
Go Blake.
I know. We need to simplify life and make it, streamline it and make mama's anxiety less and all the things. So there's another brand new drug, and this one's called Aliftric. Aliftric is basically the same thing as Trikafta, so we're not looking for big changes, anything new and big. We want to have, just a even kill, no real big events. But it is 2 pills once a day.
Wow.
So instead of the twice a day, it's 2 pills once a day. He takes it with a meal with fat-containing food, and he's getting more of the benefit.
And to follow up with that, has everyone had Blake's success with this new drug, or not so much? Or is it just depends?
I don't think everyone has had as much success as
No.
Blake had. The Trikafta and also Aliftric is wonderful for the mutation Delta F508. Blake is a double Delta F508. So, and Delta F508 is one of the most common CF mutations. So there is a lot of success with Trikafta and Aliftric. But unfortunately, those that don't have that mutation or the double Delta F508 have not had as much success with it. And we have heard that some people have had to come off of it. So we're praying that something comes along that's just as good for them so that they can also experience the success.
So we've talked a lot about these drugs and how they're helping y'all, but we're also here to talk about the CFF Foundation, and they support y'all in a bunch of ways. One of those ways, obviously, is the research for these drugs. But can you tell us about how they have personally supported y'all in this journey?
They're fantastic.
Yeah, they are.
They really are. So cystic fibrosis can be a very lonely disease. Because CFers cannot be around each other. They have to be 6 feet apart at all times. They can pass bacteria that can be very harmful to each other. They could potentially kill each other. So it can be a very lonely disease. They can't, hang out because, hey, we all have CF and let's get together and, understand each other. It's not like that. So the CF Foundation has very much kept us plugged into a community, and we don't feel alone. We're not out there alone. There's lots of activities that they can Zoom in with each other. Great Strides is something that we do go to physically, but every year at Great Strides, the CFers wear a certain color shirt. Typically, it's a purple shirt, so they can see another CFer from far enough away, and they know to
Keep their distance.
Keep a distance, keep a safe distance. And that's so awesome that they have been able to, come up with these ways where we can all get together and we can all be the community and support each other and be there for each other, and also keep everybody safe.
I'm going to ask you a really tough question, Jen, and only a mother can deal with this.
Okay.
And I know we've lost several of the kids in Atlanta and Georgia specifically. Where do you put in your mind? I mean, this is your son, your only son, and I know Blake has an incredible sister that's normal, which we'll get into that in a minute, because that has its own dynamic, I'm sure, with your family. But what's your biggest worry? And how do you deal with that?
Well, obviously, my biggest worry is to lose either of my children. But the way I've always dealt with it, is that I know that nobody is guaranteed tomorrow. None of us are. CF or no CF, none of us are guaranteed tomorrow. I think that CF has given a lot to our family.
We want Blake around for a long time, don't we?
Absolutely. It has helped me to have a more grateful heart always, every day. And I think that it helps us to love on each other more, because we know that we're not guaranteed tomorrow.
And Blake,
that's how I deal with it. That's how I've always dealt with it, that, none of us are guaranteed tomorrow. But again, back to our job is to keep Blake's lungs as healthy as possible for as long as possible until we get that cure. And I have always felt there will be a cure in Blake's lifetime. And I attribute that largely to the CF Foundation, because so much of the money raised goes to research. It comes back to the families in ways that make life more normal for him and that improve his life and the quality of his life. And to people like everyone, all of you that raise money, that give money, we have all had a part in that. There will be a cure in Blake's lifetime.
I know we lose too many CF kids as they get older, and we don't want to lose anyone.
Mm-mm.
But Blake, if you could live forever, what's your dreams? What's your goals in life?
My goals in life are to become successful, and I view successful as being happy, living a long life, and donating as much money as I possibly can to the CF Foundation. Because if there's not a cure by the time I'm 50, I want to be able to put as much money as I can towards a cure for the generations after me. And I really do hope to see a cure in my lifetime. And I do think that there will be. But like I said, if by the time I'm 50 there's not a cure, I want to see the generations behind me to be as healthy as I am today, and even beyond that.
Why 50?
Just the number that I see, because currently the median age, life expectancy for patients dealing with CF is 56, and that literally goes up by the day. And so that's always something to look forward to, is seeing that number go up based on the research that has been done in CF labs and by people, and all the money that is given that enables that. But just seeing that number go up is just really
Exciting.
Amazing.
Well, I remember when I met you, Jen, wasn't the life expectancy like in the late 30s?
It was 38.
38, I remember that. And look how far we've come. It's still not long enough, but still
right.
significant.
When Blake was diagnosed, the life expectancy, he was diagnosed at 5 weeks old, and the life expectancy was 38 years old. At that time, I was 28 years old, and I could not imagine only having, 10 more years. I was so young. That was way too early, way too young for my child. I wanted much more for him. But I was reminded that it was 38 then, and it continued to go up. And again, thanks to the CF Foundation, and everyone that donates, everyone that gives, it is constantly going up. It's constantly moving in the right direction. And he was just a baby then, and now he's about to be 18 next month, and it's either 56 or 58 at this point. It's gone way up, and he's nowhere near 56 or 58. So by the time he's 56 or 58, it's going to be more than that, if not a cure yet.
We've talked a lot about the disease, how difficult it is, about the medicines and the improvements. But Blake, I was wondering if you could just tell us about some of the happy memories and maybe some of your favorite memories of being that ambassador family for IST, because your impact on everyone at IST has been huge. So I'd just love to hear some of the ways we personally impacted you and some of those favorite memories you've had.
Sure. Well, my favorite time of year is going up to Atlanta and getting to see all of you and spend time and have lunch and share gifts. That's one of my favorite times of year. I always look forward to it. It's always, like I said, just something that I always look forward to. My first time meeting Hal was at Dave & Buster's, and there's a photo of me playing a game and him looking up at me, and that's my mom's favorite photo, and we were just talking about it. Hal loves it just as much, and I love looking back at those photos. I was too young to remember, but I can just see how much fun I had, like the smile on my face and everything. Like I said, it's just something that I always look forward to, is coming up and seeing all of you and getting to catch up and talk about life, and it's just one of the best times of year.
Absolutely. And you've provided us with some pretty amazing gifts yourselves. We have several of them around the office, including some of your beautiful photography. So it's been amazing to watch you grow and your passions change.
Thank you.
Throughout that time.
We always love great strides too.
Yes.
Well, I know you guys, when you come up to the office, in a new HQ, we have a whole wall dedicated to, CF kids, and some of the notes that the parents and grandparents and brothers and sisters write are just, so heartfelt that even our guests stop and they're just blown away by the authenticity of the letter writing and the thankful heart that they have for not only IST, but anyone that's involved in CF.
Well, as a parent, one of the CF Foundation's taglines is adding tomorrows. And that's what you all do. You do add tomorrows. And there's no thank you big enough. As a parent, there's no thank you big enough.
And one day at a time, right?
Yeah.
One day, 1 year.
One foot in front of the other, one day at a time.
So Hal, back when you were at the Marriott and you were watching these kids come in and you're like, I want to one day be able to help with that. And you're like, I'm going to give to the CF Foundation and they're going to give to this research. And we've talked about those medicines and the amazing impacts they've had. But I'm just curious, with 14 years now of being involved, how has what you thought it was going to be, and how has it really been, and what's the impact you've really seen personally?
I'll tell you, I had no idea that by us raising money, other companies raising money, that we would have progressed so far. We've got a long way to go, and it's sometimes very difficult. And I know Blake and Jen, I've known you for this long, 14 years. I want a happy ending for everyone, and Blake to have a normal life and live till he's 80. But so many diseases that are out there, they're not making nearly as much progress as CF. So, I give credit and kudos to all the scientists involved in some of these breakthrough drugs, but to have an impact with IST and have all my employees walk in all these cities and the walkathons, it warms my heart because it helps bind all of us together for a common cause to help one child live another day, another month, another year longer, because what we're doing is having that much of an impact. And we see that with Blake. I mean, to have that connection, front and live and in person is amazing. And to share your life, Blake. And I remember when you were in the hospital, one of those stints, and I think your mom was a nervous wreck, your dad was a nervous wreck, and you were just playing in the hospital. You didn't know what was going on.
Y'all sent him all those motorcycles. He was having his life.
Right. I mean, he was, just another, adventure for him. We were all worried sick because some of the kids were not as fortunate that year, and we lost them. And it's like, not to our Blake. And so whatever we need to do, and I'm looking forward to raising more and more money to just get another tomorrow. Right, Jen? Just one more tomorrow.
Absolutely.
And just to close it out, speaking of another tomorrow, Blake, you're about to wrap up high school. You're about to head to college. So what are you most excited about in that next chapter of your life?
I think something that I'm most excited about is being able to explore new areas and be on my own, but also learn to live on my own and live with my medications and make sure I'm taking them how I'm supposed to be. And I think just knowing that I have that adventure ahead of me and meeting new people to help me through it really is just super exciting. And that's always something that I've looked forward to. So I think that that's got to be something that I'm most excited about for my next chapter.
If you could just give one message to another young person that's living with cystic fibrosis, what would that be?
That would be not to give up and know that there are people around you that will love and support you no matter what. And know that there might not always be a tomorrow, but there are people that are praying and donating money and wanting that tomorrow for you. And there's always going to be someone that's there for you to listen and to talk and to help you through anything.
So beautiful. Jennifer, what would you tell a parent that's just found out their kid has cystic fibrosis?
It's not a death sentence. They'll live a beautiful life. It'll be a long life. Just keep them as healthy as possible for as long as possible.
I can't thank both of you enough. Thanks for doing this. And, it's great to see you here and now, compared to we've been together now for 14 years. And I look forward to following, Blake, your college days and your career, looking forward to it. And I'm sure we'll be much more involved as you get older and hopefully help you raise and build a business to make money so you can give back to the community, because I know that's one of your passions.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's great seeing you guys.
I just want to thank all of you for sharing your time and your stories and your heart with us today. To everyone listening, this is why we do what we do. It's about more than work. It's about making a difference. And we hope you'll join us in continuing to support the incredible work of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. We'll see you guys soon.
Sounds good.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Outside In podcast. If you found value in today's episode, don't forget to hit subscribe and stay up to date on what's next. A big shout out to our amazing production team, Lance Gardner, Jose Ruiz Velasco, Eric Willis, Eric Price, and Lindsay O'Hara, who make this all happen. We'll catch up in the next episode. Until then, stay curious, stay creative, and keep thinking outside in.